What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be taking a look at why Drow has a 46 to 48% win rate depending on what MMR you guys are looking at. On the higher echelon of MMR, she's sitting at a 46% win rate, and the lower MMR, she's sitting around a 48% win rate. So definitely not the most reliable card carry right now in the current meta, and I'm going to be explaining to you guys why this hero is definitely not as reliable as it used to be, and why it's definitely not being picked as much in TI, and definitely not a very contested hero in the current carry pool. It's just not that strong. But basically one of the reasons why, it's because first of all, I'm going to tell you guys which heroes she is good up against and which heroes she is bad up against. Then you guys will kind of realize what's going on here. So Drow is good typically against Bristleback, Meepo, Pango, Anti-Mage, and Weaver. So you guys might be wondering, well, Bristleback is pretty prevalent in the current meta, especially in TI. He's very popular and super broken. He's an extremely strong hero. So why isn't Drow being picked? Well, the problem is the rest of the lineup. I will dive into that in a second. The next one is going to be Pango. Pango is pretty much only being picked by gaming gladiators. It's definitely just not a hero that's being picked too much. It's basically just a Quinn special, so nothing too special there. Anti-Mage is definitely like a ghost of a hero. Pretty much nobody plays that hero. And then Weaver is extremely strong, especially now in the current meta of TI. Weaver has made a big resurgence, and it's a really big problem because even though Drow is good with Gust, Weaver gets on top of Drow so easily, and her advantage is just not that great, especially as the late game goes by and the Weaver has a lot more escape items. He can definitely become a big problem for the Drow and just completely kite her out, buy a diffusal, burn her mana pool, and then Drow is in a lot of trouble as she has a pretty garbage mana pool, and she definitely depends on spamming a lot of clarities and having a wand. It's definitely very important for this hero to have in order to sustain through the team fights, and eventually if you want to get items like Scotty's always going to be very nice, especially for that mana pool and for the slow. Now Drow is very bad against, with some very severe disadvantages against heroes like Spectre, Earth Spirit, Chaos Knight, Wraith King, and Centaur Warrunner. Now you guys might be wondering, well, every single one of those heroes is super popular at TI in the current meta. Now you can kind of understand what is going on with this hero, why nobody's picking it. The problem is Earth Spirit can easily get on top of Drow and absolutely obliterate her, and if she misses her Gust, which is not that hard to miss because in a high pressure situation there's a bunch of heroes coming at you from different directions, even though Gust is pretty wide on the distance, you can still miss the Earth Spirit and he can absolutely just dodge it with Rolling Boulder and completely whiff that, and that becomes a really big problem as that is pretty much your only defensive tool from your kit other than items you can build. And then heroes like Spectre just get on top of you and absolutely destroy you, especially with Diffusal Blade Mail. What are you going to do to a Spectre when he's right on top of you? Even in the early game, it's still very difficult, and one of the biggest problems Drow faces is she's super slow at farming. She's not very quick at farming at all. Unless you have buffers like Ogre or Caudle, you're not farming very fast. I definitely would prefer a Caudle. That way you can definitely get more frost arrows in the team fights. You can also spam multi-shot, which is a really big ability. You can stack some camps, and that could speed up your farm quite significantly, but other than that, you really have no other tools to enhance your farming speed. Drow is not a Maelstrom buyer, and one of the main item builds you typically go on her is going to be Dragon Lance into Hurricane Pike into either a Silver Edge or Aghanim Scepter, and that is another big change that happened to her, which definitely dropped this hero's pickability, is that now the Aghanim Scepter is the Frost Arrows, which was really the Shard, which gave you the Hypothermia stacks, which were insanely broken as they reduced regen, so they were really good against heroes like Necrophos. They were good against heroes like Alchemist that would just regen a lot. Even Terrorblade to a certain extent, when he built Satanic, you can go for an item build like this, and it was very cheap. It was your Shard. It was definitely very significant, and it did help your farming speed quite a bit. Now the big difference is you are getting this item at about 20 minutes into the game, which is really difficult for you to be online as a hard carry at 20 minutes, and you're definitely not online. You need a lot more items than that, than 2 items. So she's turning into a hero like Phantom Lancer where you need like 6 items to be completely online, and if there's a bunch of counters on the other team that could just easily get on top of you, like Spirit Breakers or Chaos Knight and these heroes that like to get on top of heroes, you're going to be dying almost all the time, and there's going to be so many targets on top of you where even if you're doing the damage, they're just going to focus you and absolutely destroy you. So players don't want to be running into this issue of running this, especially at TI, so they definitely don't want to run the risk when Earth Spirit is one of the most popular mid laners, especially in this patch. He is super picked. Anybody that knows how to play Earth Spirit is definitely playing him in the current meta. He's super strong. Heroes like Wraith King and Centaur are just very hard for the Drow to kill, and if they build a Blink Dagger, they will get on top of you, and these heroes are natural Blink and Blade Mail buyers, which makes it hard for the Drow to get any damage out without taking a ton herself. And then you want items like BKB, you want a Silver Edge, you want a Manta Style or a Lincoln Sphere. There's so many items this hero needs just to be able to do a simple task of killing heroes. Now, if she's at the perfect situation where you have a big front line in front of you, they're definitely not targeting you, they're not blinking on top of you, and you have your Aghanim Scepter scepter and a couple of their items, you're going to be absolutely destroying people. This hero still does a lot of damage. That is not the issue. The issue is she's extremely fragile, like kind of like a sniper, like a glass cannon type of style, where you can definitely get blown up quite easily and you just don't farm quickly. So if you struggle super hard in the laning phase, you're going to have a lot of problems. Your team is going to have to make triple the space that they normally would for a regular drow who had a decent start. So you definitely need to pick this into the right lane matchups so you don't get screwed, because if you do, you're going to have a 30-minute Aghanim Scepter, and by that time the game might actually be over. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about Drow Ranger as a hero? If you guys have been seeing this hero, I definitely don't see it as much. I've been playing it a lot from the mid lane as it's super fun, and when somebody is trying to grief my game playing a different hero that's not supposed to be played in the carry position, like a Spirit Breaker carry or Ogre Magi carry or something like this, when people are just trying to grief and picking weird heroes, I tend to be picking the Drow Ranger mid. It's definitely very fun, very effective as well. This hero can definitely be played nicely from the mid lane. It's not extremely greedy, and you can definitely make a lot of space. Again, like I mentioned, if you're running into a lineup that isn't trying to blow you up and can easily deathball you. If you're playing into a passive lineup where you can just free farm the mid lane, you can easily become the second carry or the primary carry and have your carry be the secondary one, and they can make space for you as well. That honestly depends on what bracket you guys are in. Mid Drow might sound a little crazy to higher MMR players, but lower MMR players might be completely used to that. It could definitely be very situational, but I think it's still quite strong into the certain lineups. And if your hard carry isn't great at scaling, you can always pick the Drow mid and you can always swap the lanes and such if it definitely goes bad for you. But overall, definitely give this hero a try into a lineup where it's not going to get absolutely obliterated. It could definitely still have really good win rates if played into the right lineups. I think people are just playing a little bit too ballsy and running it into lineups that they shouldn't be playing a Drow Ranger, where they can get easily jumped on, blinked on, and stun locked pretty much forever before you even get your BKB off. And since you're super squishy, you're gonna die quite quickly. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys learned a thing or two about this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.